Hello everyone, this is Jimmy and welcome to episode 13 of Levitated. Last time we set up a bunch of pneumatic ref stuff ranging from air generation to a pressure chamber. Pressure chamber's down to 2. Ooh, that's weird. When I open it, I eat. I guess it's because I have my food in my offhand and I'm right clicking. Alright, whatever. But yeah, ranging from air generation to a pressure chamber and a refinery. So right now, let's take a look at the refinery. It's been slowly coming up to heat. It's still at, let's see, 200 and some degrees on the vortex tube, which means it should be slightly cooler than that, at 215 degrees on the refinery. This might be its equilibrium temperature given the current air pressure. As we increase the amount of air we generate, as we can see, we're only 1.8 bar, and that's because air is consumed. I suspect we're more or less at an equilibrium state now, but all the air that gets generated by the air compressors is getting consumed by our refinery right now, so we cannot get any more air pressure built up. Well, sorry, the air is being consumed by the vortex tubes. The vortex tubes use air pressure to generate their power or their temperature gradient. All right, so anyways, this is now taking the oil that we pump and turning it into a couple products. There's a bit more processing I want to do with this, but let's now go take a look at our oil pump just to make sure that what we set up works. It's kind of hasn't been fully tested yet, so I want to make sure everything's working. And the fact that it's running in spurts is a good sign. The drum here, when it reaches a certain more or less arbitrary level of fullness, apparently 5 is the output signal that turns it off. The redstone signal is now strong enough to reach this port on the pump jack, which shuts it off, and the pump jack is no longer running all the time. It consumes like 1,000 RF a tick while it's running, regardless of whether or not it's producing, so it's a good idea to shut it off when you don't need it to produce. All right, hey look, here comes a mana tablet. So that's telling me that our ore production is working too in the nether. Cool. So let's start today off by taking some of these byproducts and processing them further. Starting with diesel, I would like to, well, yeah, we're going to start from the bottom of the stack because as we go up, the products get effectively lighter, and at that point they get more, generally speaking, more useful in the scope of pneumatic craft. So, start with diesel. Diesel can be burned for fuel. It's a relatively good fuel, but I don't care for that. It can be sold later, but I don't care for that. What I want to do is turn it into lubricant for now. So a bucket of diesel with a little bit of redstone becomes lubricant. This has to be done in a thermopneumatic processing plant. I want lubricant first. First of all, it can be sold for 2.5 buckets in Emerald. What a deal. But lubricant, once bucketed, lets us make speed upgrades. And I really want speed upgrades. In this process, we're going to be dealing with a lot of fluids, so I want to make ender fluid conduits because that allows us to transfer multiple different fluids in the same conduit space. So we're going to melt down a whole lot of stuff here, and thankfully the smeltery can make vibrant alloys much, much faster than our silly little basic alloy smelter can, and thus I'm using that. We do have to make a little bit of fused quartz as well, so I'm looking... Oh, that's the mana spreading dots. Unfortunately, fused quartz has to be made in the very slow alloy smelter. Oh well, it won't take a lot. I think our plastic production system is going to use 4 total thermopneumatic processing plants, so I set up 4 of them. They are also heat-consuming devices as well as air-consuming devices, so they need air plugged in on one of their ports and heat supplied via any side through a vortex tube or similar. So anyways, starting from the beginning. The first one needs to be supplied with items in the form of coal. And right now I just have the item conduit here is hooked up to our drawer system. So I don't have an applied logistics system yet. I have an item conduit system. It's a bit less powerful, but with the exception of auto crafting, it can do import, export, priorities, all that good stuff. So it gets us halfway there. Items go in here, that's coal, and then fluids is hooked up to our refinery there. So by using filters, we can again choose which fluid comes into here. I want diesel. Is it immersive petroleum diesel? It is. Alright, so diesel goes into here. I might have to set extract on this side as well. Extract, brown, always. Oh, you might have to extract from the matching inventory. Like this inventory only has, yeah, this inventory only has kerosene in it. All right, so let's, I guess we'll have to get rid of one. We'll get rid of one. We don't have to get rid of one side, but we'll get rid of one of the cooling sides, or rather the warming sides, and that'll be fine. So now, let's see, extract all of these on the brown channel. The beauty of Ender fluid conduits is you can run multiple fluids in one conduit, and I'm going to take advantage of it. All right, insert brown. There we go. So now this fills up with diesel, but this actual processing recipe here, you can see it does not use air in the thermopneumatic processing plant, actually. Like it doesn't have this UI here, but it does need at least 100 degrees Celsius. So we're gonna have to hook up the air pressure to our pumps, and we should see that the air pressure should start dropping in the rest of the system as air starts flowing into here. But it's perhaps not that much. These basic pressure pipes are a little bit lost. You know, there's a limit to how much air can flow through them, especially when pressure is low. So it's 2 bar here. Just by the time we get down here, the pressure's already dropped to 1.3 bar. That's probably still enough to get us up to... Am I using the wrong fluid? Is it supposed to be... Or the wrong item? Is it supposed to be redstone, not coal? It is. Whoops. Let's switch to this. I want to say, I thought it was only 100 degrees, but if you have the wrong item in here, it uses the other recipe, which is a 300 degree recipe. All right, let's try that again. So now fill it with redstone, and now the temperature required drops, and it makes lubricant. Cool. So lubricant doesn't need any further processing. We can just store that into a drum and call it a day. I'll make speed upgrades out of our 10 buckets of lubricant later, but we're not making more because the refinery is jammed up. So we have to start processing the other stuff as well. Eventually, though, this drum's gonna fill up with lubricant. It's gonna cause this to back stuff. So we have to continue spending diesel other ways. Diesel, when, as we saw earlier, when you don't put redstone into it, gets processed into kerosene. So what I'm going to do is insert diesel into here at priority 1. And insert it into here at a lower priority. Well, priority 0, I guess, will work. And just not give it items. When you use priorities on Ender fluid conduits, make sure you do turn off round robin. If you have round robin mode, it overrides priority mode. So it'll round robin instead of priority. But anyways, for now, because we don't have any excess diesel, we can't observe this working. This, though, trust me, will work. It'll turn diesel into the next thing. Whatever that was. Kerosene. In fact, let's pin all these things now. Kerosene, gasoline, LPG. And our goal is to make it to LPG. Now we have 2 sources of kerosene, both here and here. Kerosene isn't very useful in pneumatic craft as kerosene, so we want to process all of it down one step further. For that, we just continue to abuse Ender fluid conduits. Unfortunately, we can't drag from JEI bookmarks into the filter. We can drag from JEI, but not the bookmarks, alas. So anyways, insert kerosene into here. That will cause it to get processed. Again, this only takes heat, or takes heat and pressure, no items. Process into gasoline, and add 1, that's the wrong pipe. And add 1 more to process gasoline into what is this called? LPG. All right, so now they all have sufficient, you know, all of our stuff is being distributed. That should cause our refinery to turn back on, but I don't think these can actually reach the required temperature. We simply don't have enough air pressure in these vortex tubes to get them up to 300 degrees, right? Like we're chilling at 200 and something. So to get that higher, we're going to need to just make more air. Right now, we're using 100% of the air we're making, and our equilibrium is 1.7-ish bar. Not enough. Okay, so let's hope 10 buckets gets us there. Something I've probably put off a little bit too long is an automated sugarcane collector. I've been coming here and just punching the sugarcane when I need it, and it's fast enough that, like, if I need, you know, 5 pieces of paper or whatever, it's no big deal. But just by using a mechanical miner on the top block of the sugarcane, it harvests it. If it fills up, it stops harvesting because it only picks up blocks it's allowed to harvest, I believe, anyways. So let's make this real quick. What was in the corners? Like that, and this. And then as a simplification, you can use portable tanks instead of fluid buckets. And that way you don't have to replace the bucket after every craft. All right, so I'm gonna, for now, put most of these in the same air compressor. The more you put in a single compressor, the more, like, the greater the effect of each one. I don't think it tells us here. So it's 51 milliliters per tick with 4 upgrades, whereas with no upgrades, it's 10. So it's, the scaling is exponential, is what I'm saying. So, you know, with 5, 6, we get 114 milliliters per tick. I believe you get the same amount of air per piece of coal, so this really just causes it to burn. It doesn't hurt your fuel efficiency, I think, but it does cause you to produce air faster, which means you get a higher pressure, and at some point it gets high enough that I'm at risk of causing explosions. But I think this is fine. We'll put that many upgrades in it. And as you can see, the pressure in these is rising. The pressure in these is rising. And it should get high enough eventually that we can start processing. So as soon as this hits 300 degrees, it'll start processing. As it processes, it uses up air and it uses up heat. So that'll cause more air to be used in the vortex tube and we'll reach an equilibrium. The equilibrium should sit probably right at 300 degrees. But let's see. And go. Okay, or as our temperature rises above, it accelerates the change in temperature. That's kind of not what I expected. Are you running? Am I doing something wrong? Kerosene. Oh, it needs to. I see. It accelerated because. Wait, why did it accelerate? It's not processing because it hasn't received enough air pressure yet. I don't know why the temperature started accelerating above 300 degrees. Whatever. Not gonna stress it. There we go. Now it's processing. All right, cool. So into gasoline here into LPG, and did I not turn this extract on? No, I turned it on. What? Oh, it's, you know, the gasoline from here is fighting with the gasoline from the distillation tower to get into the tank. So eventually one of these will backstop. When one backstops, it stops processing, which will reduce our processing rate, which eventually it'll get through everything, but it's no guarantee that we'll process the tank output or the distillery output before we process the whatever comes from here, and that's completely fine. Anyways, last step is to store the final product. I'm going to store it in a bigger drum because we use, well, this is the more useful of the stuff. So LPG goes into here, and this will grab LPG both from the distillation tower as well as from the refinery here and store it all. All right, so we've made 15 buckets of it and counting. Nice. As you can see, we are now at the pressure equilibrium, just at 2 bar. One thing we can do with this LPG is we can switch our furnaces, our compressors, over from being coal powered to being LPG powered. And the advantage of the gas compressors, or the fuel burning compressors, the liquid compressors, that's what they're called, is that they instantly shut off when they are given the shut off signal, whereas the the item compressor keeps burning until it finishes its piece of, you know, its item. The liquid compressor, I think it like runs in millibuckets or something, right? It might finish its current millibucket, but you get a lot less air out of a millibucket of fuel than you do out of a whole piece of coal. I'll upgrade my compressors later because we're about-ish to get access to better compressors anyways, not just like the basic ones, but advanced ones, flux ones, etc., etc. So we'll keep burning coal for now. However, I found a problem with our first thermopneumatic processing plant here. As you can see, it's heated up well above 300 degrees. As a result, as soon as it gets 100 millibuckets of diesel, it's turning it into whatever this is, kerosene. Right? Of the 2 recipes for diesel, you can turn 100 millibuckets into kerosene with sufficient temperature and pressure. I think the solution for this is to not connect this machine to the pressure line. However, that just I mean, that's a pretty simple machine, or a pretty simple solution, right? Just do that to go around it. And now, when this thing runs out of pressure, in fact, it already has less than 2 buckets of pressure, which means that it can no longer do the diesel or the kerosene recipe. Instead, it'll have to make lubricant instead. Because right now, I need lubricant to make speed upgrades more than I need a little bit more diesel to make LPG, seeing as how my LPG production is bottlenecked by this thermopneumatic processing plant, which is already running at 100% uptime. Although I guess we could... Nope, it does not take speed upgrades. I think you effectively speed upgrade them by making it hotter and more pressurized. Now that we have LPG, it's time to turn it into plastic. So this is going to take one more processing plant. I was wrong when I said we needed 4. Turns out we need 5. Which way are they laid out? That'll work. So the last step is to take LPG, give it some coal and a little bit of heat. No air pressure needed here. And for every 100 millibuckets of LPG, we get a bucket of plastic. For every bucket of plastic, we can make a single plastic sheet. So this tank of currently 36.4 buckets makes 364 plastic sheets. Not a half bad deal. To turn liquid plastic into the plastic items that we actually need, we need some dyes, as well as the plastic mixer machine. So this was easy to make, just some compressed steel, whatever. I don't know why sometimes my game just like puts items in the crafting inventory I'm looking at, whatever. But the dyes are next. So lapis, we already have a system producing it. Cactus is just made from cactus. We could even get like 5 per cactus. So I set up a quick thing that automatically farms cactus. I don't have an automatic off switch, but I can just turn it off manually. And there is a void upgrade in the drawer, so it won't overflow and spill cactus everywhere. It'll just overflow and void cactus. Anyways, that's green dye. So that just leaves red dye. What is my best source of red dye? Probably just make rose bushes. Right, I can make a rose bush by throwing a flower into a mana pool enough times. I can find some vanilla flower. Do we have any vanilla flowers? Gotta be a dandelion in this space somewhere. Yeah, there we go. Alright. So take this. Which one of these? This pool. And after enough cycles, it'll become a rose bush. There we go. And then we can bone meal this and get a whole bunch of rose bushes. In case anyone is as unfamiliar with vanilla mechanics as I am, apparently bone mealing any of the too tall vanilla flowers just causes it to spit out another flower. Wow. So each rose bush can make something like 18 dyes if we put it through the squeezer. So this should make practically a lifetime supply of red dye. The dye mixer only accepts these vanilla dyes. We can't use the very similar but not quite the same modded dyes. Like we can't use the Britannia dyes, which is a little unfortunate. Once you stock a plastic mixer with some of each dye, this couple hundred of each should last us an incredibly long time. Each piece of dye makes maybe 5 to 10 plastics. You can then open this UI. You can see there's liquid plastic in here. Now, the plastic mixer can both make item sheet plastic and melt item sheet plastic. Very rarely do you do the melting thing. You need to give it heat if you want to melt, but I'm not going to melt anything, so I'm not going to bother. All right, so if I want to make, what's a good plastic to start with? Let's start by making the tablet. So the Andromedon tablet, or Amadron tablet, I call it Andromedon, whatever, uses a couple types of plastic, and this is a kind of like a villager-ish trading mechanic. You get to sell stuff, usually diamonds, or sell stuff for diamonds, or buy stuff with diamonds. So this is telling that you can buy a PCB blueprint with 8 diamonds. On the other hand, you can sell some of your fluids, bucket of LPG for, and by diamond, I totally mean emerald, the green diamonds. But yeah, generally speaking, actually, if you buy, no, this doesn't work. I don't think you can buy oil, right? Because 1 bucket of oil becomes less than 1 bucket of LPG. Never mind that. So you can't buy oil with diamonds and turn a profit by just processing it. But as you can see here, you can buy the presses, and that's really what I'm after. You can, these are villager style trades that you can sell stuff for more green diamonds. nothing here is particularly, you know, this isn't the best way to get emeralds, I think. But for now, this is what we've got, so I'll make do with it. There isn't an emeralds from deep mob learning, is there? Doesn't look like it. Alright, so I guess maybe this is our best way to get emeralds for now, because none of the emerald ores generate in the nether or the end. Alright, so enough yamming. What types of plastic we need? We need some gray, some red. For most of these plastics, you don't use them a lot. Like gray plastic only has a few uses. Well, okay, gray plastic is perhaps used more than some. No, not really. Generally speaking, there's plastics that go into the PCBs. Those are ones you use a tremendous amount of. So green plastic goes into this, and then where is it? Come on. The black plastic for the transistors and the blue plastic or cyan plastic for the capacitors, you use the most. So for these, anyways, I just need 7 gray, 4 red. Just hit the button, 2, 3, 4, and 7 gray. If you need a lot of something, click lock selection and then pick the plastic, so like cyan, and it'll just make it as much as it can. Until the output slot's full. If you pipe this into another inventory, like a drawer, it'll just craft it more or less forever. So gray and, or what was it? The colors that we looked at earlier that you use a lot, probably, eventually, it'll be worth setting up a dedicated plastic mixer for them. But for now, one plastic mixer can make all of our plastics. So anyways, DPS tool, air canister. I don't think it needs to be a charge air canister, does it? Nope. Now we have our tablet. In order to use the tablet, we have to charge it. So that's done in a charging station. And here it's charged with air, not with RF. So this does have to connect to our air pressure in some way, shape, or form. How about right here? Notice how the charging station can actually go up to 20 psi. Once we get into advanced pneumatic craft stuff, most of the advanced pneumatic craft stuff is at least, or not 20 psi, 20 bar. But most of the advanced pneumatic craft stuff is 20 bar capable. So like the advanced pressure tube is 20 bar. When you're running at these higher pressures, you just have to make sure that the stuff that is not 20 bar capable, say the pressure chamber you see back here, doesn't get 20 bar worth of pressure, because it will explode. But we don't have to charge this all the way up to use it. Any amount of charge is sufficient to start. Now we have to link it to a couple inventories. For now, what do I want to do? I think I want to sell lubricant. Can we sell lubricant? I need a few more emeralds so I can actually buy these presses, right? In total, we need 24 emeralds to buy one of each press, and I have like 2. So what are decent sellables? We could just sell copper wire. I don't have an automated farm yet, so yeah, we'll sell lubricant. 2.5 buckets per emerald. All right, so shift right click that to link it. And then we need to tell it where to deliver our items from. So we need to link both a fluid inventory and an item inventory. Give me a chest, I suppose. And this will serve as our item inventory. The fluid inventory can be both, well, each of these inventories is both a source and a destination. So make sure that you have, like if you're selling items, you have emeralds in your chest. If you're buying items, make sure you have room for emeralds in your chest. Cool. So with that, we can now see we have lubricant in our place, so we can sell. There's a limit. Well, there's a limit based on how much fluid is in our tanks. We can't scam Amazon here, so we can sell 6 for 6 emeralds. Click the place order thing, and this part is super cool. A little drone will fly in at some point. There we go. And yoink, our fluid, you can see that's gone. And then a couple seconds later, I guess they don't fly in, they teleport in now. Amazon's gotten more advanced over time. But another drone will come and make our emerald delivery. Cool. So we have now bought emeralds, and that's used up a tiny little bit of our pressure. It's really, really little. I'm not very worried about running out of pressure. Anyways, if you are playing on a server, you can also set up custom trades. where like you can sell stuff and buy stuff from other players. I don't think I've ever used that server or ever used that feature before, but it's a cool idea to be sure. All right. So anyways, I'm gonna leave this here for a little bit to run to get enough. I mean, we can sell LPG too, right? Well, whatever. I'm gonna leave it here enough to let this processing run for a while so that we can actually buy enough emeralds to get into applied energistics, because that takes, again, the 32 emeralds. Did I say 24 earlier? 8 times 4 is definitely not 24. I don't know. In the meantime, then, I think I want to upgrade our steel production. So right now we're using this blast furnace to make steel. It's great and all, but it's a little bit slow. It's a lot slow. In fact, this is all the steel we have left. I might have a stack around somewhere else, but 4-ish stacks of steel, not going to cut it. So I think it's time we upgraded from the blast furnace to the arc furnace. The arc furnace can make steel ingots much more quickly. It takes 20 seconds to make steel, and it can, I guess it has to use coke dust. Actually, you know what? Instead of using the arc furnace, let's just put preheaters on the blast furnace. Maybe that'll be enough. I think there's also an advanced coke oven. So an advanced coke oven just makes coke faster. It has its own form of preheaters. So let's try that. If that's not fast enough, we'll switch over to the arc furnace. The downside of the arc furnace is that you need to provide it with both electrodes and a tremendous amount of power, whereas the blast furnace is free. So, you know, free versus not free. Give me the free stuff. Excuse my disaster of an inventory for a second, but let's take down our current coke oven and upgrade to an advanced one first. The advanced coke oven is slightly different from the advanced blast furnace insofar as it doesn't actually use every single coke brick. It has a slightly different layout. So it's 18, I believe, of these advanced coke bricks, and then some of the blocks have become steel sheet metal. The very backmost layer is sheet metal. And every other time I made this thing, I think I've made all 27 coke blocks just to realize you don't need some of them. Alright, then you need the hopper up top as well, so I guess we'll have to move this inventory. And as usual, form it by hitting it with the thing. Alright, so this thing now, I'm not sure, does it auto output the fluids the back? It might. I don't think we need this conduit anymore. It'll automatically output the coal coke, or not the coal coke. The coal coke comes out the front. The creosote comes out the back. I'm pretty sure that's the way it is. Then it pulls in. I guess it doesn't automatically pull in. I have to move this up one more block. Alright, so coal coke goes from, or coal goes from the chest into the advanced coke oven. As it is, it's not actually faster than a basic blast, or than the basic coke oven. It's apparently louder. A lot louder. I don't know why it's a lot louder, but we can make it faster by putting preheaters on these two sides. So these things, when supplied with a little bit of RF, let's connect them to power and power them up, will increase the processing speed by a relatively little bit. So this one is for the coke oven, it uses 64 RF per tick to power both of them, and I think it about doubles the processing speed. Is it worth spending 64 RF per tick to double it versus making another one? You tell me. Anyways, then on to the blast furnace. The blast furnace likewise has preheaters of its own. They go in similar spots, although you have to point them at the port. And they also need to be provided with just a little bit of RF to function, and they have a similar increase in processing speed. So now that our cocoa comes out based on the fact that that doesn't connect, I'm going to assume the cocoa comes out the back and the fluid comes out the front. Alright, works for me. But anyways, I'm going to have to rewire some of this to get all the connection points. Wait, that doesn't connect either. What? Alright, we're gonna have to figure out which side, what comes out which side. There's no color on that. I don't know. With both sets of preheaters running, we are now using 128 RF a tick. So I suppose that means the blast furnace side also uses 64 RF a tick. This now makes steel ingots relatively fast. I mean, it's still not fast, but hopefully fast enough. If we do need to go faster, the arc furnace is the next step, but hopefully we don't. Anyways, during that time, let's see how much of this has been processed. Oh good, another 5 buckets. It might be a little while. In fact, you're not stopped, are you? Oh, you're stopped because you're out of gasoline. Why are you? You are processing, you are out of air. And you are out of air because I am probably shutting this off too soon. All right, let me, we're gonna put our, now that we have greater total volume in our air system, we can shut off the thing at like 4 bar and it won't run over to 5+ bar and blow up, I expect. Let me move this around a little bit. I'm bumping down our safety margin a little bit. Right now, the highest pressure I see in this system peaks right about here at 4.2 bar. So, you know, it's not going to explode probably. We now can run this thing at 100% uptime. So that'll speed up our processing at least a little bit. Looks like our plastic tank's full. That's good. Anyways, let's see what's next. If I want to keep doing more pneumatic craft stuff, I have to make PCBs. All right. PCBs are a bit of a journey. And I think that is a journey we will undertake tomorrow. It's a bunch of steps, and if we get started now, this episode will go way over. So, tomorrow it is. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video, and I hope to see you in the next one, where we get to play with PCBs. Take care. Bye-bye.